So in this recording, I want to go a bit in the subject of good and evil, and an aspect and an aspect, a facet of this paradigm that we are facing. Understanding good and evil is almost like the quintessential theme of what's going on. Understanding good and evil and becoming thus a moral person and learning to make the right actions in the world as a consequence. So I want to touch a bit on this perspective of good and evil, but seen from the perspective of the spiritual, let's say, the spiritual beings or the people interested in spirituality that proclaim themselves to be spiritually interested or spiritually inclined people that I've encountered. Because, it's kind of obvious that there are these two different categories of spiritual people almost. You have the New Agers, that which we can just put all of them into a singular category called, let's say, just New Age. And then, the opposite of that would be what I've described as maybe the truthers, or maybe we can describe them like people interested in exiting the matrix, or the soul trap folks, the people which consider that all there is to this experience on earth is just a means of incarceration for our spirit, and matter is a prison for our spirit, and the earth is just a means of incarceration that we have to eventually learn to escape from. So just to simplify, I've created these two categories for myself in my mind somehow, and I just call them like the first category is the New Agers. The second category, let's just call them the truthers. Now, the distinctive characteristics that I've noticed about these two categories, because they have almost like opposite perspectives on life and opposite perspectives, almost like even in regards to spirituality, the characteristics that I've noticed about them is that first of all, both of them, they seem to truly miss what true spirituality is about. Both the New Agers and the Truthers, they actually so-called miss the mark in regards to walking the authentic and real spiritual path. That which can be described as the narrow path or the golden path. Why do they miss the mark? So here's what I've noticed so far. And it took me so much time, by the way, to notice what I'm about to, let's say, put into words right now. It's a condensation of years and years and years of observations, and the pain of dealing with the distortions that arose in the conversation with people from both of these categories. So I would interact over and over again with people from both the New Age category and the Truther category. And in both cases, something felt unright. And it actually was very difficult for me, because I had to go internally and sift through so much distortion, that was coming from both of these two categories of spiritual philosophies and spiritually inclined people. I had to stay with a lot of internal contradictions and inconsistencies and distortions, which was creating a lot of internal pain that I didn't know why something is unright and feels wrong when I start engaging with the mainstream truther narrative or the soul trap narrative or the escaping the matrix narrative. Why is something like essentially ultimately feeling wrong about what they say? But then if I would go into the other to the other camp, the new agers, the hippies, even the non-dualists, they fall into the same category, basically mainly coming from the mainstream Eastern side of spirituality. While the truthers and the exiting the matrix folks and the soul trap community, of course it mainly comes from the Western type of spirituality. So that's another distinction between them. So then I would go into the, let's say, to the New Ager camp, but I would be, let's say, hit by the same type of train, invisible train, and I would be left with so much internal pain and so much internal, that feeling of like something is wrong, deeply wrong, when I would interact with the New Agers as well. Actually, in my case, it was a lot more of this wrongness felt when I would interact with the New Agers than when I would interact with the truthers. But nonetheless, the same internal feeling of there's something wrong, it's something unright about all of this was still arising in both of these interactions with these two categories of people. So I had to stay for years, contemplating and debating and investigating and sitting with the pain and going through all these processes to figure out some of this stuff. So what I'm about to say, right now. So this is like a condensation of years of contemplation upon the subject, and it's not final. It's just, just crystallizing itself more and more. And I'm just putting a bit of it into words right now. So what I've noticed is that the main problem with both of these two categories of spiritually inclined people or spiritual philosophies is the following. Both of them, they miss the mark, as I said. Both of them miss the actual point of our true experience here in this world. But they miss it from two different perspectives, almost like from two opposite perspectives. Let's just start with the New Agers. So, what I've noticed in the New Age community is just like there's almost like this pathological inability or fear to recognize and to deal with the evil that goes on in the world. It's obvious. It's obvious when you think about it that they do almost everything they can to either avert, deny, or ignore almost anything that sounds too negative. They just try to, let's say, dodge as best as they can anything which has to do with the evil or dark side of this experience that we find ourselves in. So they are trying to deny half of the experience, basically, and of course that can never go well eventually. They talk about integration, they talk about healing, they talk about inner child work, they talk about shadow work, they talk about wholeness and oneness and how we should work to become whole and integral, but ironically, they are the ones which immediately cut themselves off from half of the reality around them. How can you become whole with just half of who you are and just half of your perception of the world? If you constantly work to deny or to avert or to dodge anything that sounds too negative or evil or dark, which it is, of course, but that's the thing with darkness, right? It's part of the world. And if you truly are, serious about your path to wholeness, you should work to integrate both the sides of duality, right? But no, they just say that. It just sounds beautiful as a statement, as a spiritual statement. I'm working to achieve wholeness. I'm working towards wholeness, towards unity. I believe in the unity of everything. But yeah, I'll just try to discard, or pretend half of the existence, for half of the reality doesn't exist. Anyway, so that's their side. They do everything they can to deny the existence of evil and to only surround themselves in this rosy colored bubble of rainbows and butterflies and everything which is just nice and sugary and cozy and smiles and hugs and wet eyes and drum beating and chants and sitting by the fire and dozing off on who knows what weed in a forest somewhere, in a group somewhere, in a circle somewhere, and doing all these spiritual, pseudo spiritual practices of sorts. So they try to surround themselves only in positivity, only with the angels. They all channel an array of angels. They are all connected with angels. Nobody is connected with demons in their camp. In the New Age camp, it's just nobody summons a demon. It's just everybody's working just with the angels. Everybody is just such an angelic and light focused being. So yeah, they create this fake, illusory, non-existent bubble, and then they try to deny everything that would fall outside of that false bubble of an inexistent, as I said, inexistent bubble of positivity and rainbows and butterflies and everything. Just think positive and everything will turn out great. You influence reality with your thoughts, and you're the only creator of your reality. There are no outside forces that could ever influence your reality. You're the sole creator, the only one which has a say in what happens. It's just completely untrue, and it becomes delusional, because that's what happens when you cut yourself off from half of reality. Of course, you start entering into delusion. So that's their camp. That's what happens in their camp. They really are oblivious to evil, and they do the best they can to remain in that way and to protect their oblivion. And they try to deny everything that sounds too negative or evil. Now, if we would look in the other camp, the truthers, the soul trap people, the soul trap community, the exiting the matrix community. Well, it took me some time with these people, because at first I would much more greatly empathize with them than with the New Agers. I felt naturally inclined towards this camp more than the New Age camp. I like these guys, I appreciated them. Why? It's because in contrast with the New Agers, these guys in the other camp, the truthers, are almost on the opposite side of the spectrum here, opposite valence somehow. They are actually quite keen observers of the evilness that happens in the world, and they have a very bright intelligence and ability to spot evil. To spot the corruption in the systems, to spot the corruption in the world, and to actually point it out with very good materials sometimes. And I had so much respect for them, because noticing the evil of our world is paramount on this journey, on this true journey back to life. We need to know what we are dealing with. We need to know the problem that we are truly facing. If we are going to only work to always avert and protect ourselves and deny facing or recognizing the problem, then we are going to have even a bigger problem. We are never going to be able to solve the situation that we are dealing with here globally and collectively in the world if we are not able to even notice the problem that we have, specifically the evil that exists in the world. So I give so much credit, and I given so much credit to these truther people, because they would almost like brilliantly sometimes perform this job of really honing and pointing down precisely, sometimes very good, the evilness that goes on in the world. And there were very valuable materials which came out of this entire movement. The truther movement and the soul trap movement, there were very good and very valuable information that came out from their hands, and from their minds. And that's, in my opinion, to be completely respected. I have still so much respect, and I feel they are a valuable piece in this true journey that we are all facing. And we need people like that. We need an army of people like that. But here is the catch with them, because they fall short of truly understanding what this spiritual path and this true authentic journey back to life is about. So the thing is with them is that what I've noticed is that they tend to go in such, almost like in an extreme, with this idea of the world being evil, and noticing the evil to the point in which they become almost obsessed with it. They develop a sort of like obsession. Their life, their identity almost becomes entrenched in this concept of this world being purely evil. There's nothing good about it. There's little good to be found in it, but the majority is just pure evil, and there's no true changing anything. There's no true caring for anything, because all of it is the creation of a fallen demiurge. Matter is seen as evil, the earth is seen as evil, and everything is seen like mostly as an experience from which you have to try to escape. So the quintessence of the truther message and the soul trap message and the exiting the matrix message is exactly that: exiting, escaping. So they practice what I could describe like a outward form of escapism. They actually say it: we want to escape this experience. We don't like it here. This world is evil. These are the reasons for why. And they truly do the research, and they truly are able to offer you the reasons for why this world is evil. And these are the reasons for why everything is like a shithole, and we want out. We don't care about this place. We don't want to fix it. We don't want to do anything. We just want out. That's their mentality. It's a religion of escapism, basically, taken at its most ultimate form. They want to escape existence itself. They want to escape their life. It's the very experience of life. They want to escape it. They don't want to improve anything. They don't care, as I said, about fixing anything, improving anything. And the where the problem arises, and it might be obvious by now, is that, well, they don't care about solutions. They don't care to even consider that there could be a solution and we could be able to do something to repair or to correct or to, I don't know how to say, like, combat the evil that exists in the world, to dispel it, to neutralize it, to cast it out of here. They don't even want to begin to consider this notion or this idea, because in their opinion the entire thing, the entire earth, the entire experience is like a pit of hell. There is nothing to save from it. If earth is seen as evil, then everything has no point, in saving anything. So they don't care. That's the thing. They really have this philosophy of ultimately uncare. So their heart is kind of cold from this perspective. So what it condenses is in the fact that they don't care about any solution. Yeah, they are very good in pointing out the problem, but their advocated solution is escapism. Yeah, these are the problems, as I said, and we just want to escape. Yeah, how do you escape the matrix? Well, you have to wait to die, and then this white light will appear, but that's gonna be the false light, and then you have to learn to dodge that light and go and aim for the void, because after you die, that's when the great battle, it's gonna be given, and that's your chance to escape this realm and never reincarnate again. Yeah, just don't do nothing while you're alive. Day by day, you have the chance right now, by the way, to do so much to change the course of this existence. But no, just ignore every single moment of each day. Just ignore all these chances, that you are being given each and every day, over and over again. Basically, the same day, repeated over and over again, the same chance taken over and over again. But just, completely brush that aside, just throw it away, throw all these chances away, and just aim for death. Yeah, an experience which you have literally no idea about what it truly entails, something which you have literally no psychological preparation, no physical preparation, no information, nothing to back up this fantastical idea that you would be able to escape the matrix, the so-called matrix, at the moment of death. There is nothing truly to back up this idea. No sane reasoning. But they still believe in this, fantastical idea, or this fata morgana in the future. Our solution is going to be then, in the future. Yeah, when I'll die, I'll handle it then. I won't bother with it now. Why bother finding solutions right now to my problem, which actually exists right now? All right, that's another cue here, which basically portrays more of the absurdity of the situation, right? I have a problem right now, but let me fix it, 50 years from now when I'll die of old age. Yeah, don't try to use all these 50 years to actually deal with the problem that exists right now. Well, I'll fix it then. It's gonna be fixed then, in other time, not now. It's like feeling hungry and right now and saying, oh, I'll just eat in 50 years from now. Yeah, you have a problem right now, but you expect to solve it, in 50 years from now. That's another cue. We just tells, there's something wrong about the entire vision in this, second camp of the truthers and the escaping the matrix community and so on. So they ignore the solution. That's the thing. They don't even want to start contemplating and asking, like, okay, now I see that there is all this evil going on. I see it. I know it. I understand it. But what can be done, Is this all there is to life? Have I only came here to this existence, to suffer like a dog and to just try to escape my experience? It's just like, what am I? Am I a freaking insane individual, soul? In my real existence, am I that psychopathic, that, what's the word, like, sadomasochistic? Am I that insane to just put myself through something so horrible just to see if I'm able to escape it? Is this all this perverse type of game of sorts that I play with myself? Am I so sick in my mind to even consider that I could have done that to myself? But they excuse this because they say, like, no, because we didn't know. Yeah, we were fooled to come here. Yeah, something tricked us. We didn't know what the experience was about, and we were tricked, and so they solved that. They washed their hands. So it wasn't me. I didn't chose this. But of course, then you're delegating responsibility. Then what are you saying about yourself as a true being? Are you saying you're not conscious enough of who you are, what you are, who you are dealing with? You're not smart enough. You're not intelligent enough. You can't see right from wrong and truth from false in your true reality from where you come. You're ignorant then. You're an ignorant person. You're an ignorant being if you are able to be fooled. That's not making a statement of you being this eternal spirit, this eternal being, in heaven. How can heaven have obscurity in it? Right? Because you need obscurity to be ignorant. Like, you can't be ignorant if you're living in 100% light. But see, they don't take this, even their own conclusions, they don't take them to their outermost, they don't take even their own philosophy to its outermost conclusion and ask these vital questions, Well, if I would have been tricked, then that would have meant that where I was already in obscurity. I was already in ignorance. And then, well, is that where I want to go back to? To the same place of obscurity, of ignorance, and of darkness that got me here? Well, was that then heaven? Heaven? A place of what? Darkness, obscurity, ignorance, a place where I can get hurt like that without my will? Was that heaven? Of course, that's not heaven, But see, because they are so hung up around this conclusion, they've just, taken in their arms this idea, like, matter is evil, earth is evil, this experience is evil, like everything is just a pit of hell, there's nothing good about it, nothing, they just, they just hang on to this idea. They created this identity around it and they won't let go of it, even if it gets absurd, even if their own philosophy is clearly and evidently ultimately absurd. Their own philosophy leads them to absurdity, to absurd conclusions about their very nature. So if you want back to heaven, but you don't even know what heaven is, since apparently you came from hell, right? You were already in hell, in darkness, in obscurity, when you are tricked to come to this let's say, deeper level of hell. What do you want to be back at the higher level of hell? Well, that's just the higher level of hell. That's not heaven. Heaven is light. They say it, but they don't understand what they are saying. Heaven means light, and light means knowledge, right? You turn on the, light in the room, all of a sudden, everything in the room is being seen. You know things. When there's light, there's knowledge. When there's darkness, there's ignorance. So I think most people would agree that heaven means light. All of them proclaim this, I want to back to my world of light, to my body of light, to my existence of light. Even the New Agers, even the truthers seem to agree with this. I want back, I want to experience myself in the world of light. Well, then you have to understand that light means knowledge. And in the case of truthers, to have knowledge means to be unable to be fooled, to be unable to be tricked, because you can already foresee and see the intentions of everything that you are interacting with in the world of light. So you are approaching a person, you're approaching, let's say, an animal, a rock, a tree, a book, an idea, a philosophy, anything that you approach in the world of light, you can see it like an open book. You can see what they are about, you can see their intentions. There is a permeating sense of understanding and knowledge between both of these entities that are interacting, you and the other thing. It's impossible to be tricked by anything. And the other property of light is that light, it has to do with your own conscious choice and your own conscious deliberate act in your own sovereign individuality, and you being your own individual being and being respected for the individuality that you are. And thus, everything has to come as a choice and an act of deliverance from yourself. Otherwise, if something would, force you to do a certain thing, it would rob you of your full 100% individuality and of your full 100% ability, your sovereign beingness to decide for yourself and be a being of your own. If somebody would be able to force you, then again, it's gonna show you that you're not in the world of light. You're in the universe of darkness, because that's where ignorance exists, and that's where you're constantly forced or raped or tricked and taken advantage of. So again, it just doesn't match with the idea of true heaven and what true heaven is about, and what the true, let's say, universe or world of 100% pure light is about. But they still, they mix the ideas. They say, oh, we came from heaven, yeah, but we were tricked. And yeah, I want back to heaven, but I don't want to be tricked again. I won't allow myself to be tricked again. And they mix the ideas. That's not heaven. What you describe as heaven, it's not heaven. It's actually another level of hell. And if you want back there, that means that you are making a declaration that you want to remain in hell, just back at the level of hell from where you came from. I hope this was kind of clear. My exposition, I mean. So, right now, then, that's the thing, because everything condenses in them, like blaming this reality, condemning it, and saying everything is evil, but without wanting a solution for it. They don't want a solution. They don't want to change things. And they just want back home, back to the world of light, back into heaven, that heaven in which, I was tricked to come here, and I was ignorant, and somebody, forced me to do something I wouldn't have done myself. So they didn't respected my free will and free individual sovereign personhood, you know. I want back there, yeah, where my true personhood wasn't respected. But they say all of this, and this is where I'm getting to the point of, you know, saying what's the actual, well, how do I say, like the actual, let's say, blind spot of the truthers and the, you know, exiting the matrix. I'm looking through the window because I have a thing on the stove which is boiling, and I have to be mindful of that as well as I record this. So their blind spot, the blind spot of the truthers or the people in the soul trap community, is that they actually don't understand what goodness truly means. And this is the essential point that I wanted to somehow touch upon in this recording, is that if when we look at in the New Age camp, we can see that their blind spot is the inability to understand the nature of evil. Literally, they cannot understand it, or they won't understand it. They don't want to understand it, and in consequence, they don't understand it. Now, if you don't want something, it can't happen to you. So because they don't want to deal with evil, they don't understand evil. So they lack half of the experience, as I said in the beginning of this recording. Now, very interestingly, what I started to realize about this second camp of the truthers and the people in the soul trap community is that, surprisingly to me, and I would like literally, I would have never thought about this, like, unless I had to stay for some years with the, exactly as I said, the incongruency and the pain arising from dealing with them and not understanding what exactly is wrong about what they are saying and their philosophy. So I had to stay with so much pain, actually, to figure finally this one out. So the truthers and the people in the soul trap community and the exiting the matrix community and anything adjacent, you know, anything similar to that, their blind spot is that they don't understand the nature of good and the nature of goodness. If in the first category of the New Agers, they don't understand the nature of evil, these ones, the second category of the truthers, they don't understand the nature of goodness. They ultimately don't know what true goodness is about. Yeah, they can spot evil. They are brilliant at describing it, honing it down, you know, hunting it down, pointing it clearly, describing it clearly, black on white. They become experts in evil, experts in, you know, the corruption of the world, exposing the evil. But they are almost clueless on the nature of true goodness and true good and what that is about, you know. And it's because they lack this second part of the picture, you know. They don't understand what goodness is about and the true form of goodness. This is why usually they are so uninterested to fix anything in the world, you know, or to find a solution to anything. And this is why they are so ultimately nihilistic and apathetic and indifferent somehow. And they just, you know, continue to remain stuck on this paradigm, like just saying all the time, you know, day by day, you know, oh, everything is evil, this world is just a dark pit of hell, there's nothing to change about it, there's no good about it, no, we can do nothing about it, just trying to escape, you know. It's because in their heart they haven't yet found, that's the thing, they haven't yet found the, almost like I could say, like the heart of life, that sacred heart, that mystery, you know, that unspeakable thing, which would immediately, it's almost like a, you know, there is this thing with changing of the face in some religious ritual somehow. It just changes you completely. Once you experience it for the first time, it's just, you cannot be the same again. It's impossible. It just completely changes you. It's like opening up a completely new way of being. And you realize how blind you were before, you know. They haven't had that mystical and true spiritual experience. And that's their blind spot. They haven't found the heart, because that's the heart. The heart shows you the essence of life. And once you are being presented with that through your total experience, it's like you remain with nothing more to do in the world than to try to do your best to install that good in the world. So there's no other choice left. This is why, for example, Kiron La spoke about the choiceless choice, or Krishnamurti spoke about the choiceless choice, and Kiron La spoke about the same, you know, but in his own words, you know, when he said, like, the heart never gives up, you know, in doing what's right. No, because you are left with no choice after you understand the heart of life and what's the true actual goal and what matters, literally the most quintessential aspect, and what matters the most in this experience. Or after you've been touched by that heart, you become a servant. You know, you truly become a servant of life, doing what you can with what you have, with the skills that you have, with the personality that you have, with who you are, the way you are, as imperfect as you are, but putting that in service of the good. And the true and the right, because now you know it, you know. And exactly as I said, once you know it, it's just impossible to want anything else, because you understand that you found it. This is it. This is the living mystery of life, the true form of goodness, which by the way has nothing to do with our human perception of what goodness is. It's a form of goodness that is beyond our human understanding or our current mundane understanding of good. So that's what they are missing. The people in the truther camp, they are actually missing a mystical experience. They are missing an experience which would reveal them this unexplainable mystery, this unexplainable truth, this unexplainable love, this unexplainable heart, the true form of goodness. They are missing that. They've never experienced that. This is why they don't believe in it. This is why they don't have the necessary motivation to fight for that, to do everything that they have, everything that they can with everything that they have, to put it at stake, to put it in service of that. You know, and they are remaining caught in the paradigm of just spotting evil. And that's all they do with their time and energy, just spotting evil, describing it, and then just complaining in a way, which of course is natural to complain when you see so much evil, but they remain stuck in this phase of just, you know, just just complaining and saying, I want out. Of course, they would say, I want out of the matrix when they don't have any other solution, when they haven't felt or experienced anything more. Because literally they don't know of anything more. It's like a child when, you don't have another solution. Mommy, I don't want this anymore. But if they would know what they want, what's the true thing that they are actually seeking for, because it exists in them as well. They just haven't found it yet. But when they will experience what they truly want, they will understand that all this time they've been, wasting, saying all the time, I just want to escape. Yeah, I want out. I want out. I want back home. I want back in heaven, which was just hell, but I just call it heaven because I don't know of anything more. See, they don't have a memory of the true heaven. They have, because that's it. It's just circles back to the same thing. It's, if you haven't touched the heart of life and haven't understood thus what true goodness means, of this mystery and this love is about, then you literally do not understand heaven. You literally do not have a concept of the true heaven. And the only thing that you call heaven is the previous level of hell that you came from. But that's not heaven, as I said. So they literally, it's like without their fault, they are caught in this paradigm and they remain stuck in the paradigm of just noticing that this world is hell, being brilliantly able to point it out, but being unable or unwilling to do anything about it. And that's the thing, because until you have the experience of life, of this true life, touching you from within and from outside, like just the evidence, just the complete experience of it, just like a water washing through everything that you are. Nothing remains the same after you experience that thing for the first time. Until you have that experience, you won't understand anything truly. You won't understand the nature of good. You won't understand what heaven is about. You don't even understand what's at stake and what you are truly ought to fight for. And you will just continue to want to escape this experience because there's nothing else for you. You don't have another higher motivation. There's nothing else to drive you. And by the way, what a sad motivation to just want to go back to the same place that it's obvious that it was obscure and dark and it was violating you in your being. Why would you want to go back in that hell place where you've been already tricked there? The possibility to be tricked there was already there, and you've been raped there, and you've been violated in your sovereign being, and you've been tricked and forced to come here. Why would you want to go back to that place where the possibility of this is even real and even possible? But again, since they don't have another option, because they didn't have yet that mystical experience of, experiencing life, true life, all they remain with is just the only other thing that they know of, which is just their previous experience in that other version of hell, that other level of hell. It's sad. It's very sad. This is why I am deeply concerned about these people, because I have a sort of like love and respect for them, because I can see how much they are suffering. I can see how intelligent they are. God, I admire their ability to point evil and to speak about it and to describe it. They are doing such a great job in doing this, and I really can see how much they are suffering. But I can also see how they are lost and they are trapped in a paradigm that right now, unfortunately, they do nothing to escape it. And it's their own inaction, they just remain benign. If you go and tell them like, man, it's just we can do something to change this earth, to change this experience, This is heaven. We are standing on the ground of heaven, but something happened. It has been turned in this shithole. It has been turned in this hell pit. But we can restore it. I remember, you remember. We have everything in our hands. We can do this, guys. We can be back in heaven. Let's unite our powers, If you tell them this is just like, nah, Denisa, it's just this world is hell. It's just you're tricked. It's like the devil is tricking you to believe that there's anything to save of this world and of this earth. Like, man, the earth is just the creation of the demiurge. Just what do you want to save from it? Don't you see it's a fallen creation? Everything eats everything else. Everything is predatory. It's just... there is nothing to do. We can't do. We just need to figure out how to escape it. Where is the door? Where is the door? Paradoxically, by the way, just because I came to this concept of the door now, I just remembered yesterday night. I'll add this in because this is just a fresh memory, from the mine of existence, from the internal cave, which I've been going down yesterday night, as I kind of do every night. Anyway, so here it is. A new memory came back from this internal cave. So they always seek the door, but ironically, they dismiss the door without even realizing, because the earth is the door. Yeah, earth is the door they are seeking, but paradoxically, earth is also the thing that some of them, it's almost like the thing that they despise the most and they hate the most and they blame and condemn the most. Earth is the door, of course. The feminine is the door, of course. But all of them, they are kind of, by the way, I've seen this with the truther people. And actually with the New Age as well. That they kind of tend to blame the feminine. In a way or another, they kind of tend to blame the feminine as a general thing, as a philosophical thing. You can see how they harbor a sort of like grudge and hate towards the feminine principle, I mean. And thus they can never love the earth, and thus they despise the earth. The truthers, of course, I'm speaking about truthers and the people in the soul trap and the exiting the matrix community especially. But paradoxically, the earth is your door. The feminine is the door. Kiron Last was very clear, and he said that, well, the masculine is the key, but the feminine is the door, and our door out, and the one which is going to create the possibility, the impossible, the possibility of an eternity, as he called it, it's gonna be the feminine. Like, she's the door. She's the portal. But who's the door? Well, of course, the feminine is going to be in direct connection with the earth. And it's gonna be the earth and the feminine creating the door. But go figure, they are just spending their, let's say, days preaching the earth is evil and we should find the door out of the matrix, not understanding that, well, they are condemning themselves before it even happens. Because if they condemn the earth and they despise it, when it's gonna appear like the door, they are not even going to think that that's the option. They are going to think, oh, it's a trick, we are going to be tricked. If we choose the earth or anything that has to do with the earth, it's gonna be a trick. We are going to be tricked to come back here. No, don't choose the earth. And they're gonna choose probably something else, and that's done. see, it's their very mentality, this very paradigm that they are in right now, which is going to continue to keep them stuck in the same paradigm, in the same trapped in the matrix, because they are despising the door even now, before it was even shown to them. And when it is going to be shown, they will reject it. And paradoxically, see, they are rejecting their own escape. They say they want to escape, but they are already condemning themselves to the same prison that they are already in. So, how it starts for them, if they want to, let's say, get out of this paradigm where they are stuck and have a chance at feeling and experiencing this true life, which is the heart of life, in their own heart, and have this mystical experience which would put them in contact with the earth, put them in contact with this door. If they want that, if they want a true escape, then the first step for them is just to admit that they are wrong, that they have a huge blind spot in their understanding of reality, and they have just to admit, I'm wrong. That's it. That's how it starts for you guys. You just have to admit that you are wrong and to be able to stay with the uncomfortableness of that. And stay in that uncomfortableness of that unknown, because once you realize that you kind of are wrong with your entire model of reality, it's kind of wrong. You have many things right. You are indeed able to spot evil very good, but when it comes to solutions and what can we do about it, you're in the dark. You're completely missing the mark. You're completely off path. So once you realize, like, okay, I might not have a clue related to what's truly going on, and I might be wrong here. But when you are able to fully admit that and then start living in that true unknown, then that's how you open yourself for this mystical experience, because the heart of life is not gonna come to you as long as you continue to reject it. The earth, which is the heart, as Kiron pointed out, is not gonna show itself in its true form or allow you to see her a bit more in her real form if you're going to continue to harbor hate towards it, towards the earth, towards your heart. If you hate your heart is not going to show itself to you. It's just as simple as that. If you hate your earth, it's the same. You won't get the door out of the matrix if you hate the door. So that's the first step, just realizing or admitting you're wrong, and then sitting with that uncomfortableness, with that humble uncomfortableness, in humbleness in that, and that's how, she's going to come for sure. But that has to be an honest endeavor. You just have to truly let go, truly be naked, truly be vulnerable, truly be a child, and accept that ultimately you don't know what's going on. Yeah, you are intelligent, you can point out many things, you have a bright intelligence, but ultimately you don't know what's going on. And that's a fact. So when you understand that you don't know, you can open yourself, vulnerable, like a child, in the face of existence, in the face of our true mother and our true father. And when you're gonna come like a child, they are gonna show themselves to you, like the parents that they are. And our mother, for sure, is gonna come to you, for sure. She's waiting for you. She's waiting for you deeply. So that's it. That's the blind spot of the truthers. They haven't found the heart. They don't understand what true life is about, nor they understand what true goodness is about. And this is why their model of reality is ultimately incomplete. Yeah, they are able to spot evil very good, definitely better than the New Agers, which are completely oblivious to it. But in respect to walking this true, authentic spiritual path, which is a path of completion, which is a path of unity, uniting the entire aspects of reality, good and evil, as I said, they are completely blinded to the true meaning of goodness and what that truly means, and what true heaven is about, and ultimately what the heart is about, and what life, true life, is about. They are missing. They are missing half of this picture. That's, again, I reiterate a bit, but that's why they are ultimately nihilistic. That's why they don't want any solution. They don't want to try to find a solution. It's because deep in their hearts, they don't believe there is any goodness to anything, because they haven't experienced the essence of goodness yet. They don't believe in it because they don't know it. Similar to how in the New Age category, they don't believe in the nature of evil because they haven't understood it. They haven't allowed themselves to pierce through that wall, that freezing wall of ice that prevents them from noticing the evil that goes on in the world. They are just too paralyzed with fear towards evil to notice the evil and thus be able to grow beyond it, grow the strength to move beyond it and to do something about it. And now I want to end with this image that it's very interesting how these two groups, which of course they are akin to the two, side of the brain, how these two groups, they are kind of like so interesting to notice the dynamic and the blind spot of each being the excellence of the other. So, for example, the New Agers cannot see the evil in the world, but they are kind of proficient in the good if you think about it. They kind of have a respect for life. They kind of have a natural respect for plants and animals and, all of this stuff. They love nature usually, or kind of all the New Agers love nature usually and respect it and so on. Even though they are kind of like clumsy and stupid about it and all their rituals and so on, they are just mostly benign and doing nothing to truly be able to understand the mystery of life. But that's just because they lack the strength that it would come with and the intelligence that it would come with, integrating the evil or the darkness, the dark aspect of reality. But anyway, so the New Agers have a deep respect for nature usually, and their blind spot is evil and darkness and negativity, what they deem as negativity. But it's interesting how on the opposite camp, the darkness of the blind spot of the New Agers becomes the excellence of the truthers, because the truthers, they created an identity, an entire life out of spotting evil. But they are completely blinded to the good, to things like the beauty of nature, the beauty of a tree, of a river, of the sky, of just, contemplation and falling like raptured in awe, just seeing a mountain or seeing the sky, a sunset, or, just being raptured in awe towards the beauty of life, towards the beauty of the earth. No, there's no such thing in the truther model of reality, because this parasitic thing in their mind, immediately they look at a tree, they see only predators and parasites and, stuff, and the tree feeds on dead leaves, and it's just only sees darkness everywhere, even in nature, there's no beauty, there's no true joy in their heart. Of course, they become so apathetic that they want to escape the entire experience. So it's very interesting how the new agers, they are able to, they have an experience of the good, you see. They have kind of an experience of the good side of things. This is why they become, let's say, so childish and so hippie and so, love and light and everything is good and let's just hug together and everything is gonna be fine. We are gonna solve everything in the world with just smiles and thinking positively, and everything is just gonna be solved by just meditating in a forest and smoking weed and taking psilocybin mushrooms and just chilling off each day. Why not? Life's just beautiful. It's always beautiful. That's all there is. Of course, as I said, and unfortunately, because they lack the depths, the depths of experience which would come with realizing the dark side of existence. But through those depths, they would be able to acquire the power, the true power to become a conscious player and a conscious creator in this, story of life. Not just staying behind like a fairy in a forest, smoking joints all day long and, obsessively, trying to dismiss anything dark, any shadow, anything, just light and love every time, everywhere. No, of course, they remain at a level of like stupid, underdeveloped, innocent, stupid in innocence or innocent stupidity of sorts, in which they remain kind of like spiritually retarded, kind of like we have to call it what it is, because they remain kind of stupid. You have to be able to integrate the darkness, but in the real sense, like truly face evil, truly being able to spot it, see what it is, but never forgetting that there is beauty to this life. There is sacredness to all of this as well. It's intertwined. You see, good and evil, they are intertwined in this experience. And discernment, it's about learning what is good about our experience and what is evil about it, and to be able to separate them, to be able to notice them, to be able to know them through yourself. That's the beginning of the narrow path. That's the beginning of the golden path. It's when you stop being oblivious to any of these sides of this dual realm, and you know evil, and you are completely, let's say, open to know it more and more, to see it more and more, and then to act, to stand up against it more and more. Of course, to say something about it more and more, but at the same time, being able to see the mystery of life, seeing the beauty, the sacredness, the miracle in everything. In everything, especially in the things which are more and more natural, more and more pure, more and more unadulterated, more and more organic, to be able to spot beauty, to be able to spot true life when you truly encounter it, not to pass through a forest, beautiful, magnificent forest and say, oh, it's just part of, the creation of the demiurge. I don't. Yeah, it's beautiful. It makes leaves. Yeah, it's beautiful. Sometimes it just relaxes me. In an unusual way, I feel so relaxed in the forest, but it's evil anyway. It's evil because it's part of the creation of the demiurge. It doesn't matter that, my nervous system feels more relaxed. I kind of like feel more confident. I have more ideas. I feel explorative. I feel like a child again. But no, nature is evil, earth is evil, matter is evil, we have to escape. It's just absurd, completely absurd. So, yeah, that's when you live at the heart of existence, in which you don't deny any of the two sides of this experience. If you have to suffer, you do it. You go through your suffering and your pain heroically, you go consciously through it. If, of course, pain comes, you're there with the pain. You never flee away. You never close your eyes. You never say, it's too negative for me. You say, what is this? Let me explore it, although it shatters everything in me, but I have to do it because I want the truth. I want to understand my reality holistically. I want to truly go back home or come home. And I know that heaven is true light, and true light means true knowledge, absolute knowledge. And thus, I need to become completely aware of everything that's going on, and thus, I refuse to close my eyes anymore. Even though some things are so scary and so dark, and I'm feeling so afraid to look in that direction, I'll just move, with I'll just make tiny steps each day. But I'll conquer that beast eventually, because my will is higher. And my will is that I want life. I want truth, 100% truth. And that means true knowledge and true light. So my will is higher than my fear. And thus, as I said, I move with tiny steps each day in that direction. And eventually, yeah, I will conquer that beast. So I'm not closing my eyes. That's the thing. If you want back to life, if you want to truly walk this true golden path or narrow path, you have to just open your eyes and see both the horror that is here, but also the beauty, man. It's just there is true, legitimate falling in your knees type of beauty here. Still, the earth is just the quintessence of sacredness and purity. And if you are unable to feel that through your core, not because you hear anybody else saying that, but to truly see it and experience it for yourself, then just know you haven't yet arrived in this middle path, in this golden path. And if you're in that category in which you can't allow your heart to witness the goodness of the world and to commune with the beauty, to commune with the mystery, to commune with the feminine, basically, then all that your first step is just to admit that you are wrong. And make the courage to admit you're wrong, and you might not know what's going on. And in that openness, life is going to come to you. She is going to show herself to you. But you have to make the first step. You have to open up. So I'll just leave this recording to this. Probably I could have added more, but I think it's kind of clear the difference between these two camps. None of them, they are seeing reality the way it is. All of them, they are seeing only half. The New Agers mainly see the positive and they deny the negative. The truthers mainly see the negative, but they deny the positive. The New Agers deny the problem, essentially, and the truthers essentially deny the solution. And between these two guys, nobody's actually truly doing anything for this world and for everything, for restoring, and basically building this true, real creation, which is our original creation, our heavenly life, here with our hands from scratch. Nobody is doing this. None from these two categories, I mean. For sure, there are the very, very, very few which have found the narrow path, which have found the golden path, and they are making this most undescribable effort. This literally a heroic act. Each day becomes a heroic act to be in this middle point of pure unknown and deal with life, both the horror, and the incredibly unspeakable beauty in each moment, and try to deal with these two seemingly opposite polarities without rejecting any of them, just being open to understand, just being able to know, open to know and to understand. And thus the path reveals itself more and more. Okay, I'll leave it at this for now. Probably I'll end with something which makes me very happy right now, because I've been gathering these what's called like rose hips buds, and I'm planning to make a syrup. Yeah, a rose hip syrup, like aromatic syrup. And now it's boiling on the stove. I'll go check it out. But it's already smelling amazing, even in this room. It's just, I'm so excited. I'm so happy for this, really now. I'm gonna make rose hip aromatic syrup. And it's gonna be with honey, of course. And it's gonna be the first time I'm making it. So I'm literally extremely excited about this. I can't even describe how excited I am. Yeah, see, just tiny things, man. But it just fills me with so much joy. Okay, I'm closing this.